Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This
Mm.
time, we're going to be talking about Jack Reeves.
Jack Reeves.
Seemingly average guy,
Right.
but with a secret.
Yes.
A string of wives, all dying under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, this is a really interesting case.
We've got some great sources for this one.
Absolutely.
We've got a Wikipedia article, and then we also have a book on mail-order murders that covers this case. So
Great sources.
should be a really interesting deep dive today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So Jack Reeves was a retired Army Master Sergeant. Nothing in his background initially screams criminal mastermind.
Yeah, it's true.
But as we dig deeper, a much darker picture emerges, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Reeves was born in Texas in 1940,
Okay.
and he actually got married pretty young,
Oh, wow.
at the age of 18 to a 15-year-old,
Yeah, that's pretty young.
which was annulled very quickly.
Oh, wow.
So not your typical happily ever after.
No, not at all. It kind of makes you wonder, what was going on there that it was so short-lived.
Yeah. I mean, did he just get cold feet or?
Yeah, was he just not ready for that kind of commitment? Or
Yeah.
were there other factors at play we don't really know? But it definitely raises some questions.
Yeah, and it seems like this pattern of sort of impulsive decisions continued.
Yeah, you could definitely say that.
Especially when you look at his relationship with Sharon Vaughn,
Right.
who he was married to for 18 years.
Okay, 18 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, so you would think, they got married in 1961, had 2 sons together while he was stationed in Italy.
Okay.
You would think that would point to some stability, right?
You would think so. Yeah. But there's always but with these cases, isn't there?
Always a
In
bit.
1967, right in the middle of this supposedly stable marriage,
Right in the
he was
net.
convicted of manslaughter in Italy.
Wow.
He served 4 months in prison.
So he took a man's life.
Yeah, he did.
Pretty big red flag.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag. I mean, that's something that you definitely can't just brush aside.
Right, and that definitely paints a different picture of what was going on.
It really does. Like, maybe things weren't as happy and as stable in that marriage as they seemed on the surface.
Definitely makes you wonder if this was, something that was just building up over time and
Yeah.
finally kind of came to a head.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we don't know all the details of that case, but it certainly suggests that there was a capacity for violence there
Absolutely.
that maybe wasn't apparent to those around him.
Right, so then things get even more murky.
Okay, even more murky. So we're already in murky territory.
Murky territory.
All right, lay it on me.
So by 1977, Sharon was seeking an affair.
Oh, wow. So the marriage was already on the rocks.
It was on the rocks, and she filed for divorce.
Okay.
And just a week after the divorce was finalized,
A week.
she died
Oh, my gosh.
from a shotgun wound to the chest.
Shotgun wound to the chest. Okay, so what happened? Was it an accident? Was it suicide? What was the ruling?
Well, the initial ruling was suicide.
Suicide, okay, but with a shotgun wound to the chest.
That's pretty difficult.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, there were a lot of inconsistencies, too, like she was found naked.
Naked?
But there was ended up suggesting that she was clothed at the time of her death.
That's suspicious.
It is, right?
It really is like someone wanted it to look like a suicide, but they didn't quite get the details right.
It sounds like a textbook case of staging a scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it makes you wonder, was this truly a tragic end to a failing marriage?
Right.
Or was this the first act in a much darker story?
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder.
It does.
So after Sharon's death, Reeves married Byung Haichong in South Korea in 1980.
Okay, so just 2 years later, he's married again.
Yeah, he didn't wait very long.
No, he didn't.
Makes you wonder if he was even really mourning.
It does make you think, right? Like, was there any genuine emotional attachment there?
Right, or was he just moving on to the next thing?
Exactly, yeah. What was the motivation behind that quick turnaround?
Right, and then in 1986, Byung Hai drowned in Lake Whitney, Texas.
Okay, a drowning, that's a tragic accident.
Seems like an accident.
Right, but
But her family stated that she couldn't swim
she couldn't swim.
and that she was terrified of water.
And she was terrified of water, so how did she end up drowning in a lake?
Right, and they even pointed out bruises on her face.
Bruises. Okay, so this is starting to sound less like an accident and more like something more sinister.
Yeah, it's hard to reconcile those details with just a simple drowning.
It really is. It makes you think that there might be something more to the story.
So what happened when they tried to investigate?
Well, this is where it gets even more suspicious. Reeves had her cremated before a thorough autopsy could be performed.
Wow, so there was no way to really determine the cause of death.
Exactly. And, he claimed to be devastated, but his actions seemed designed to prevent any further scrutiny.
Yeah, it's like he was trying to hide something.
It really seems that way, right? Like, if you're truly innocent, you would want all the facts to come out.
Absolutely.
But in this case, it's like he was trying to sweep everything under the rug.
Yeah, so we're starting to see a pattern here. 2 wives, both dead under questionable circumstances.
Right, and this is just the beginning. What's even
Hmm.
more disturbing is that just 2 years later, Reeves was already looking for wife number 4.
He was already on the hunt.
He was on the hunt, and this time he went down a very different path. He turned to a mail-order bride
A
service.
mail-order bride service. Wow.
Yeah, and in 1988, he met Emila Davila, who was just 18 years old.
18 years old.
18 years old, he was 28 years her senior.
That's a pretty big age gap.
It is a big age gap, and it makes you think about the power dynamics at play in a situation like that.
Absolutely. Was this a truly consensual relationship, or was there an element of coercion or manipulation going on?
It's a really important question to consider, especially when you talk about the mail-order bride industry as a whole.
Right.
It often preys on vulnerable women, creating a system where financial dependence can lead to exploitation.
Yeah, and that's something that we definitely need to keep in mind as we continue to explore this case.
Absolutely, because it really sets the stage for what happens next.
So tell me what happened next.
Well, Emilida was reportedly hesitant about the marriage.
She wasn't really sure about it.
She wasn't really sure about it, but she felt obligated.
Obligated.
Reeves was sending money back to her family in the Philippines.
So she felt like she owed him something.
Exactly. And that's a really difficult position to be in, right? When you feel like you have to marry someone out of a sense of obligation rather than love.
Absolutely. So it sounds like she might have been trapped.
Yeah, it really does. And this kind of financial control is often a tactic used by abusers to keep their victims dependent and isolated.
So then Amelia gets pregnant.
She does, and what happens next seems even more calculated.
Oh no. What did he do?
Reeves initially denied paternity.
He denied it.
He denied it and sent Amelia back to the Philippines.
Oh wow, so he just completely abandoned her?
It seems that way, right? But then when she sent him a photo of their newborn son, he suddenly changed his mind and had her return to Texas.
So he wanted the child but not the mother?
It seems like it, right? It's like he wanted to exert control over her reproductive choices and have a family on his own terms.
That's really disturbing.
It is. It's very controlling and manipulative behavior.
So then in October 1994, Emelita disappeared.
She vanished without a trace.
Another wife gone missing?
And before she disappeared, she had confided in friends about her intention to leave Reeves.
No way. So she was trying to get away from him too?
She was another wife seeking an exit, and then suddenly she's gone. Does this sound familiar?
It's the same pattern all over again.
It is, and unfortunately this time it wouldn't stay a mystery for long.
Oh no.
No.
What happened?
A year later, a hunter stumbled upon Emelita's remains. She was buried in a shallow grave near Lake Whitney, the same lake where Reeves' third wife, Mayanhai, had drowned.
What are the chances?
You have to ask yourself, was this a blatant disregard for human life or just plain arrogance?
It's almost like he wanted to get caught at this point.
Well, the police certainly noticed the pattern.
Oh yeah.
They knew about the string of wives dying after wanting to leave Reeves.
Right.
So they start digging into his past. They revisited Sharon's death, the shotgun wound, the missing clothing, and even looked at the blood spatter evidence.
Blood spatter. That's pretty incriminating.
It can be, and in Sharon's case, the blood spatter patterns didn't match up with the self-inflicted wound.
Wow, so it wasn't suicide after all.
It wasn't, and this was key in proving that her death wasn't a suicide after all.
It's amazing how science can give a voice to the voiceless even years after the fact.
It really is, and in this case, it was crucial in finally bringing a dangerous man to justice.
So after years of getting away with it, the walls were closing in on Jack Reeves.
They were. In 1995, he was arrested for Sharon's murder, a full 17 years after her death.
17 years, that's a long time to live with such a dark secret.
It is a long time, and throughout the trial, he maintained his innocence, but the evidence was overwhelming.
So what happened?
In 1996, he was found guilty of Sharon's murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison, but the story doesn't end there.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yes, remember Amelita Leger?
Yeah.
Reeves was also tried and convicted for her murder that same year.
Wow, so he was convicted of both murders.
For Amelita's murder, he received an additional 99-year sentence.
So basically a life sentence.
Essentially, yes.
I mean, it's just unbelievable that he managed to fool everyone for so long.
I know, it's a chilling thought, right?
He had a career, a family. He wasn't some shady character lurking in the shadows.
Right. He was able to blend in so seamlessly.
It's a scary thought that someone like that could be living among us.
It really is. It's a sobering reminder that evil doesn't always wear a sinister mask.
Right.
It can hide behind a charming smile and a seemingly normal life.
And in Reeves' case, that mask of normalcy allowed him to manipulate and control the women in his life, leading to their tragic deaths.
And, it wasn't just a lack of suspicion that helped him. There were systemic failures as well.
What do you mean?
Well, back then, domestic violence wasn't treated as seriously as it is today.
Oh, that's true.
There was less awareness, fewer resources for victims, and a greater tendency to dismiss women's claims.
So it's possible that there were warning signs that were missed or ignored.
It's very possible, and it makes you wonder how many other cases like this might have slipped through the cracks.
That's a scary thought.
It is, but what's important is that we learn from these cases.
Right.
Emilida's friend, for example, played a crucial role in bringing Reeves to justice simply by reporting her missing.
Just by reporting her missing.
That one act of concern triggered the investigation that uncovers years of abuse.
So it really does show that speaking up can make a difference.
It absolutely does. It's a powerful reminder that we all have a responsibility to look out for one another. If you see something that seems off, don't ignore it. Speak up. You might just save a life.
That's such an important message.
It really is.
Don't underestimate the impact of raising your voice, even if it feels uncomfortable.
Sometimes that's all it takes to set the wheels of justice in motion.
And on a brighter note, this case also highlights the incredible advancements in forensic science.
Oh, absolutely.
Even years after Sharon's death, investigators were able to re-examine the evidence and uncover the truth.
Technology played a vital role in bringing justice for Sharon and Emilita.
It's almost poetic, isn't it?
It is.
The very tools that Reeves may have thought would help him conceal his crimes ended up exposing them.
It's a testament to the fact that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a way of surfacing eventually.
So Jack Reeves is currently serving concurrent sentences for the murders of Sharon and Milita,
That's right.
and he won't be eligible for parole until 2026.
Hopefully he'll stay behind bars where he belongs.
Yeah, but beyond the legal outcome, this case raises some important questions about human nature.
It does.
How do we reconcile the seemingly normal facade that Reeves presented with the horrific acts he committed?
Right? How can we become better at recognizing the subtle signs of manipulation and control?
Those are questions that we all need to grapple with.
And that's the real value in exploring cases like this.
Absolutely.
It's not just about true crime, it's about understanding the complexities of human behavior and becoming more vigilant against the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life.
And I think that's a perfect place to wrap up part 1 of our deep dive into the case of Jack Reeves.
Yeah, definitely lots to unpack here.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to come, so be sure to join us for part 2 where we'll delve even deeply into this fascinating and disturbing case.
I'll be here.
Okay, great. Until then, stay curious, everyone,
Stay safe.
and we'll see you next time.
It's like he was using that lake as his own personal dumping ground.
Yeah, it's chilling,
It really is. And, it makes you think about all the other unsolved cases out there.
right?
Could there be other victims that we just don't know about?
That's a scary thought.
It is, but it's also a reminder that even the most seemingly ordinary places can hold dark secrets.
So the police start digging deeper into Reeves' past, and they uncover some pretty damning evidence, right?
Oh, yeah, they start piecing together a timeline of his relationships, and it becomes clear that there's a pattern of abuse and control.
And they revisit Sharon's death.
They do. They go back and look at the shotgun wound, the missing clothing, the blood spatter evidence.
And blood spatter analysis is incredibly precise, isn't it?
It is. It can tell you a lot about how a crime happened.
So what did the blood spatter tell them in Sharon's case?
Well, it didn't match up with a self-inflicted wound.
So she couldn't have shot herself.
Exactly. The evidence was pointing to murder.
Wow, so all this time, it was a cover-up.
It seems that way, and it's amazing how science can help uncover the truth even years later.
Like giving a voice to the voiceless.
Exactly, and in this case, it was instrumental in bringing justice for Sharon.
So after years of getting away with it, the net finally closes in on Jack Reeves.
It does. In 1995, he's arrested for Sharon's murder 17 years after her death.
17 years. That's a long time to evade justice.
It is a long time, and, it makes you wonder how he managed to keep it all together for so long.
Right? Did he confess? Did he finally admit to what he had done?
He maintained his innocence throughout the trial, but the evidence was just too strong.
So he was found guilty.
In 1996, he was convicted of Sharon's murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison.
Wow, so he was finally held accountable for his actions.
He was, but the story doesn't end there.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yes, remember Emilita?
Right.
Reeves was also tried for her murder.
And what was the outcome of that trial?
He was found guilty of Emilita's murder as well and received an additional 99-year sentence.
99 years, that's basically a life sentence.
It is essentially a life sentence. He'll likely die in prison.
It's just unbelievable that he was able to get away with it for so long.
I know, it's a chilling thought, isn't it?
He was able to manipulate and deceive everyone around him.
And, it's not just about him being a master manipulator. There were also systemic failures that allowed him to continue his reign of terror.
What do you mean by systemic failures?
Well, back then, domestic violence wasn't taken as seriously as it is today.
That's true.
There was less awareness, fewer resources for victims, and a tendency to dismiss women's claims.
So it's possible that some red flags were missed or ignored.
Absolutely, and that's something that we need to acknowledge and learn from.
Yeah, we need to be more vigilant and supportive of victims of abuse.
We do. Can't let these kinds of tragedies happen again.
And what's really inspiring is that Emilita's friend played a crucial role in bringing Reeves to justice,
She did, simply by reporting Amelia missing.
just by reporting her missing.
That one act of courage set the wheels in motion and led to the uncovering of years of abuse.
It shows that even small actions can have a huge impact.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we all have a responsibility to speak up when we see something wrong.
We can't stay silent in the face of injustice.
We need to be allies and advocates for those who are being abused.
And this case also highlights the incredible power of forensic science.
Oh, absolutely.
Even decades after Sharon's death, investigators were able to use modern technology to re-examine the evidence and expose the truth.
It's a testament to the fact that science can be a powerful tool for justice.
Yeah, it's like the truth always finds a way to come out.
It does, no matter how hard someone tries to bury it.
So Jack Reeves is now serving concurrent sentences for the murders of Sharon and Amadita.
He is, and he won't be eligible for parole until 2026.
Hopefully he'll remain behind bars where he belongs.
I hope so, too.
But his case raises some important questions about human nature.
It does.
How could someone like him, so seemingly normal, be capable of such horrific acts?
Right, it's a chilling reminder that evil can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly ordinary people.
And it makes you wonder how well we really know those around us.
It does. It's a sobering thought.
But it's also a call to action.
How so?
We need to be more aware of the signs of abuse and manipulation.
Yes.
We need to listen to our gut instincts and speak up when we see something that's not right.
Absolutely. We can't afford to be complacent.
And we need to create a culture where victims feel safe and supported to come forward.
That's so important. We need to believe survivors and hold abusers accountable for their actions.
Yeah, this is a heavy topic, but it's a conversation that we need to have.
We do if we want to prevent future tragedies.
And that's the real value in exploring cases like this.
It's not just about morbid curiosity.
It's about learning from the past and working towards a better future.
Exactly.
It's easy to get lost in the details,
Yeah.
but we can't forget about the victims,
Right. Sharon Myung-hae, Amilita.
their families.
Exactly. Their lives were cut short and their families are left to deal with the aftermath.
It's just a reminder that evil can hide in plain sight,
It can. It really can.
disguised as normalcy.
And that's why it's so important to be aware of the red flags, the subtle signs of abuse and manipulation.
Like what kind of signs?
Well, isolating a partner from their friends and family,
Oh, yeah.
controlling their finances,
Um,
using threats and intimidation.
Right.
Those are all things to watch out for.
and those could be hard to spot, especially if the abuser is charismatic.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if they're well respected in the community.
Right. They can fool a lot of people.
They can, and that's why it's so important to trust your gut.
Your gut feeling.
Yeah, if something feels off, if you see those signs, don't ignore them.
Speak up.
Exactly. It's better to be wrong than to stay silent.
You mentioned earlier that Jack Reeves' case has been featured on shows like Exused and Forensic Files.
Yeah.
Why do you think this case continues to capture people's attention?
I think it's the mystery of it all.
The mystery.
Yeah, how did he manage to fool so many people for so long?
Right, like a real-life mystery novel.
It is, and I think it's also a cautionary tale.
A warning.
Yeah, reminding us that evil can be lurking anywhere.
It's true, you never really know who you can trust.
And it's a reminder that we can't be complacent. We have to be vigilant.
We have to look out for each other.
Exactly.
It's also a story about the resilience of truth.
Oh.
Despite Reeves's attempts to cover his tracks, the truth eventually came to light.
It did, thanks to the hard work of investigators and advancements in forensic science.
It's like they say the truth will always come out.
It always does, eventually.
So Jack Reeves is currently serving concurrent sentences for the murders of Sharon and Amelita.
That's right.
And he won't be eligible for parole until 2026.
Hopefully justice will be served.
But his case raises some really important questions.
About human nature.
Yeah, how do we reconcile the seemingly normal facade that he presented with the horrific acts he committed?
It's a question that haunts us all, I think.
How can we become better at recognizing those subtle signs of manipulation and control?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive into the case of Jack Reeves.
Yeah, it's been a heavy one.
It has, but it's an important story to tell.
It is.
Jack Reeves' story serves as a stark reminder of the dark side of human nature
The devastating consequences of abuse.
and the importance of speaking up for ourselves and others.
If you see something, say something.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this journey into the chilling case of Jack Reeves.
It's been a pleasure.
If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please remember that you're not alone. Reach out for help. There are resources available.
And there is hope.
Always hope. Until next time, stay curious,
Stay informed.
and most importantly, stay safe.